Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Svania and today I have another podcast episode for you. I realize it's been quite a long while since I last uploaded any type of podcast or knitting content in general. I feel like the summer has just kind of slipped by me and I have a lot to catch you up on in terms of knitting and projects and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to be back. You might hear I'm a little congested, so I'm sorry if I'm either sneezing or clearing my throat through this, but I thought it would be a great time to kind of update you, do a little bit of a end of the summer episode, and looking forward to the fall ahead. So if that's something that you're interested, then keep on watching. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a very big thank you to the sponsor of this episode, who is Ana Luisa. You may or may not have heard me talk about them before. This is one of my favorite jewelry companies. They specialize in minimalistic, tarnish-free jewelry. And they have a very low carbon footprint, which is very important to me. Today I'm wearing some of their studs. I have some of their other hoop jewelry and have been very happy with the tolerability, essentially, of these earrings. I have a pretty significant sensitivity to a lot of jewelry, and I'm able to wear these earrings with no problem. I actually sleep in them, shower, and they've held up really nice, and I have zero issues with sensitivity. So I will leave a discount code underneath this episode in the description if you're interested. I do want to mention that they have free and very fast shipping if you're in the United States, and they offer a 2-year warranty for all pieces. So highly recommend you check them out, and again, thank you so much to Ana Luisa. Alrighty, I feel like I don't even really know where to start because it's been quite a while since I've uploaded any content. I left off with a vlog documenting some of my sock knitting that I've been focusing on this summer, and I was able to knit, I think, a total of 5 socks with one single one that's waiting for its match. And I'm not going to go too far into, ins and outs of sock knitting. You should definitely check out those other episodes if you want some more details. But figured I'd kind of just wrap things up and show you kind of what I was able to accomplish over the summer, which I'm pretty proud of. So these are my socks here. I have them just in a little neat pile. This is the single one waiting for its match. And I definitely succeeded in my goals of trying out some new sock knitting techniques, using different weights of yarn, trying out some new patterns, and now I have a great little stack of socks to either gift or wear once the weather turns. So generally very happy. I fulfilled my sock knitting urge to the extreme. Honestly, I will say that I did get a little sick of sock knitting towards, I'd say, like end of July. I was just kind of like itching to cast on some garments, which is usually what I enjoy knitting the most. So I kind of had like a chaotic cast on I guess, like period of time where I just had the urge to just make some non-sock projects. So before we talk about all my endless works in progress, I should mention and show off my one finished object, which I am wearing. So this is called the Thea Top, and it is a pattern by Suzanne Miller, who is Paula Strict on Ravelry and Instagram. It is clearly a tank top pattern. It's slightly cropped. Let's see if I can stand up a little bit here. It's slightly cropped. I'm just wearing it with some shorts. Maybe I'll put in some pictures as well. This was a pattern that I've had saved in my favorites for a long time. I just loved kind of how simple it was. And my husband and I actually just got back from a trip abroad to Denmark and Sweden, and I really wanted to knit something to wear on that trip. So this was kind of the compromise. I initially wanted to do kind of a few different patterns like tank tops and short sleeve shirts and that sort of thing, but this ended up being all I could kind of squeak out before we left, and I'm super happy with it. I was able to wear it a few times on our trip and then afterwards as well, so it's gotten a lot of wear. And it just seems to be like simple enough, and obviously the neutral matches a lot of different types of bottoms. I've been wearing it with like colored linen pants, jeans, so it really matches a wide variety of other things in my wardrobe. So it's becoming one of my most worn knits, which is shocking because I haven't knit a lot of like spring and summer garments, and this project has definitely been turning me on to that type of knitwear. So a little bit more about the pattern, and I'm just pulling it up here on Ravelry. It is a paid for pattern. It is again a tank top that's knit top down. You do knit the back and the front kind of separately, and then you join after the armholes and then kind of finish out in the round. It calls for a worsted weight yarn, and I actually used the suggested yarn, which is Stannis Garn Lean. And I actually have one more skein of it that I'll show you here. I don't know if it's focusing here. Maybe not. Oh, I'm showing it to you upside down. No, I'm not. Alright, that's the yarn here. And I used the colorway 1015, which I believe is called Kit. And this is my first time using this yarn. I was very, very happy with it. It is a wool, cotton, and linen blend. Let me give you the exact breakdown. So 53% cotton, 33% rayon or viscose, and 14% linen. So first time really working with like a cotton linen blend yarn. I was expecting it to be very like scratchy or hard on my fingers while knitting, but I was pleasantly surprised. I wonder too, this was, you know, not a lot of knitting, so potentially if I were to like do sleeves or something, maybe the smaller circumference and working the yarn would have caused some discomfort, but I really had no issues, and I knit on this pretty consistently over maybe a week's period. I had ordered 5 balls and I only used 4, and I have like a little bit of leftover from the last skein, which is right here. So overall, pretty economical project as well. I think I got a lot of bang for my buck. I really kind of love like the very simple ribbed neckline and arms. The armholes are decent too. They're not too kind of saggy, so it kind of covers my bra nicely. And then there's the design kind of has a little bit of a longer back than it does in front, and I made it a little bit less a little bit more cropped than the pattern suggested because I wanted to wear it with some high-waisted things, but I could have easily obviously extended it with more yarn. So yeah, very, very happy with this. I've washed it twice already. I just kind of soaked it in like a lukewarm like wool wash bath and then laid it flat to dry, and it's just held up really, really nicely, even in kind of the most worn spots. Very, very breezy, perfect for travel. It packed nicely. I just am really, really happy with this. And I actually plan on knitting it with some other colors as well. I just think it's a fabulous, simple knit, and I will definitely be making more of these. Alrighty, so as a little side note, I have been sewing a little bit, and don't worry, this is definitely a knitting channel. I'm very much a beginner sewist, but somehow kind of got the urge to try out some tops. So I went to my local fabric store and I found this pattern here called Strata Top, which is by Sew Liberated. Sew Liberated is a really great company that I've actually kind of fallen in love with, just for kind of their design, their aesthetic. They support kind of beginner-friendly sewists. So I did a lot of research in terms of finding kind of a very basic like top pattern that I could kind of learn to sew, through the pattern. And this was just the ticket. I made a few different stratas, and again, I'm just learning how to sew. So I picked up some very cheap fabric at Joann's to just kind of play around with, and here's what I came up with. This is my first top here. It's kind of a very lightweight linen cotton blend that is, no, the camera's really picking up, but it's blue and white striped. And yeah, this is how this one came out. I followed the pattern exactly as written. I believe I made the size 4, which is roughly equivalent to a bust size of 33 inches, waist of 27, and hip of 36, which those are about my measurements, maybe a little bit smaller in the bust. And this fits fairly well. Clearly you can see that kind of the side sewing here has been like cinched and is very tight, and that's totally my fault. So I learned a lot through kind of the making of this one, and then here is my second one, which came out a little bit better. This is just in a white, kind of a mid-weight linen. I'm still like learning all the sewing terminology, but working on kind of having a neckline lay flat and just kind of figuring out the basics of sewing as I go. So pretty happy with this one. I hope to kind of wear this one in a little bit and see kind of how it wears and washes, to see if linen is something that I want to keep working with. Overall, I'm really happy and proud of these. I feel like sewing is such a great like complement to knitting. I just really like how kind of the textures of like knitted garments and sewn, like this type of fabric, a linen, like a sort of a rusticy texture, how they pair together. So that's kind of been exciting, and I definitely do plan to expand my sewing skills and hopefully make some things that I can pair together with my knitted pieces. Alright, let's jump into some of my whips. Now, again, I had just like crazy cast on energy, so I'm not quite certain that all of these whips will turn into finished garments. I am the type of knitter that I really have to be committed to a project to kind of keep going, and often I will cast something on and knit on it for a while and then realize it's not really something that I'm either going to wear, or it's not a good use of the yarn. So I am constantly kind of like changing my plans for the yarn that I have. So, like I said, I don't know if all of these will come to fruition, but this is the beginning of a poppy tee. This is all I have. Literally just a couple inches of knitting. The poppy tee is a newer pattern by Petite Knit. It's a very simple kind of short sleeve, kind of longer sleeves, with I think a beautiful neckline, very simple ribbed collar, and I'm making it in Cascade Yamerino. I think that's how you say it. It is a sport weight yarn that is primarily alpaca, so it's got a really nice drape. Really love kind of this neutral color. I've been sort of on a neutral kick again, just because I feel like I am able to wear neutral things a lot more frequently. And so trying to make better use of kind of my yarn and time to make things that I'm actually able to wear. So again, I haven't made much progress. This is clearly the back here, and you shape the neck, and then eventually you join in the round, and I think you pick up the neckline later. The pattern does call for sport weight yarn. I'm sort of feeling that this fabric is pretty thick and warm for a like short sleeve shirt. But I think it would be kind of a nice garment to have in the fall as sort of like a transitional piece. I really don't feel strongly that this is going to turn into anything. I've had many plans for this yarn because I've had it in my stash for so long. I have 3 skeins of it. I've casted on like shawls with it and then frogged them. I've just never really found the perfect pattern for 3 skeins. I think roughly 270 yards. So I have about like, I don't know, 700-800 yards of sport weight fabric that I want to do something with. It's beautiful yarn. It's very soft. So if you have any ideas, please drop them in a comment. I'd love to hear them. It's working up really nicely, so I do kind of like the texture. But we'll see. Stay tuned if that becomes anything substantial. Okay, my next whip, and I've talked a lot about this yarn on my channel. Again, I'm sort of feeling like this will be frogged eventually, but maybe you can help me figure out whether that is the best idea or not. So the next pattern, or project rather, that I cast on is a field sweater. I believe this is called field sweater. Let me look it up really quickly. Really quickly. I hate to share wrong information. Field Day Cardigan, that's what it's called. Field Day Cardigan by Ozetta. Love Ozetta's patterns. I could knit everything that she designs. I just love them. So this is obviously as far as I've gone. I have the body on hold right now as I worked the sleeve. Don't ask me why I did that. I had no rhyme or reason for doing that. And yeah, I mean, it's going well. I put it down to cast on another project. And I'm knitting this in La Bien Amie Cory Confetti in the color Ochre, which is this beautiful worsted weight, no, DK weight, sorry, DK weight tweedy yarn that I actually bought for myself as like a congratulations gift to myself when I graduated from my nurse practitioner program. So this yarn has some really like sentimental values for me, and I just think it's really fun. I mean, I love kind of the texture right now. This is beautiful just in stockinette, just to kind of highlight all those like cute little colorful tweeds. So it's a really happy yarn for me. It's not the best color on kind of my skin tone, and I definitely think it clashes with my hair color, which is why I decided to knit a cardigan with it, because I feel like I could easily pick out kind of one of these colors in the tweed to wear underneath as a base, whether that's like a tank top or a t-shirt. I don't know why I just said it like that, t-shirt, to kind of like offset this like yellowy color that just doesn't really look good on me, I think. So that's why I picked a very simple cardigan. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's bothering me and I have to talk about it. So when you start this, you start it, and the pattern does say to use a like provisional cast on or an invisible cast on in the back when you start the color. So this is the back. Obviously this is the front. Well, this is the front with the panels. This is the back of the cardigan. And for some reason, I don't know if you can see this, the cast on here. So I did not use a provisional cast on. And for some reason, I sort of twisted the button band that this seam is now facing the outside on the back of the cardigan. And I know no one will ever see this, but it bothers me immensely. I think it looks unfinished. I can't stop looking at it. It's probably the perfectionist in me. I just like can't let it go. And I just kept on knitting for a while and just thought, you know, the heck with it. Maybe I'll just love it when I'm finished with it. But it's bothering me. And of course, if I go and fix this, I have to knit back like everything, because you knit the collar or the button band as you're knitting the body. So there's no way to kind of go back and fix this. So it's kind of a lost cause. So I'm in the scenario where I don't really feel the energy to keep on working on this. I'm just not like 100% loving it. I do love the yarn. I do love the texture. I love the fabric of it, so I'm really happy about that. And I love this pattern. I just don't know if this is exactly what I want to make with it. Now, again, I want to make like a simple cardigan with this yarn. I'm just still kind of figuring out what pattern I think would be best for it. I'm not quite sure if I love this button band on this type of yarn. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. I do have hopes for this. Maybe I'll get over this little unfinished edge here. Maybe I'll just go back and reknit it. We'll see. So yeah, that's where we're gonna leave things there. I have the body on hold right now with my barber cords, which are like one of my favorite knitting tools ever. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll see what happens with this one. Alrighty, my final whip, which will hopefully be a finished object soon, has a little bit of background. So, as I mentioned earlier, my husband and I just got back from a trip over to Denmark and Sweden. It's something that we planned a few months ago, but was a little bit more of a sporadic, spontaneous adventure. And I had the best week of my life. It was at a really good point in the summer where I kind of needed a break from work. And it was also just kind of a nice break from life in general. We had a great time just exploring primarily Copenhagen, but we got up to Stockholm as well by train, and we just had a fabulous time. So I'm not quite sure how I want to share a lot of that content, because I did go to, I think it was 7 yarn stores. I didn't buy everything or something at every yarn store, but I did get quite a bit of footage from the different stores that I went to, and I did bring back quite a bit of yarn. So maybe I'll make like a separate episode for that. I know I really love watching other people kind of yarn shopping in different places of the world. I'm really inspired by seeing kind of what other yarn is out there, and I really love kind of Norwegian or Scandinavian, kind of that area of the world, their yarn, and also their kind of knitwear style, which kind of leads me to talk about this whip here. So while we were in Denmark, I actually planned this before we went. I had kind of planned a project to buy yarn there and then start, because we had a bit of travel time between obviously the plane ride there, and then different train trips. So I knew I was going to be able to get some knitting time in. So yeah, that's how crazy I am. So the very first store we went to is called Sommerfuglen, and I apologize, I don't speak any Danish or Swedish, so I will probably butcher a lot of those names. And I bought myself this combination of yarn here. So this is a double Sunday. by Santa's Garn, and despite me being able to get this in the United States, it was actually more cost effective to buy it there. And this was for the pattern called Marseille Sweater by Petite Knit. I really wanted to knit something that was kind of consistent with like Danish culture, Swedish culture. Obviously Petite Knit is from Denmark, I believe. Obviously, I don't know, I said obviously, I think she's from Denmark. So yeah, so I was able to cast on, and this is as far up as I've gotten. So this is the Marseille sweater. I cast on our trip, and I finished the I probably got through like 3/4 of the body on our trip, and then have since we've been home, able to finish the body here and then start the sleeve. And yeah, I'm just really loving this so far. I think it's going to be a sweater that I wear all the time. I'm super happy with how the yarn is knitting up. I've actually never used Double Sunday. It is a DK weight merino yarn, and I should mention the colors that I chose here. This one is 1012, also called Whipped Cream, and this colorway is 3821 Cardamom, I think is the color of this one. So I wanted like a subtle difference in the stripe. I do love her, the initial pattern has like a white base and then like a dark blue or even black stripe. But I saw this combination somewhere on Ravelry and really liked it. So yeah, this is what I have so far. It's fitting well. It's definitely oversized, but that's the design of the sweater. The neckline was really great. It's kind of a folded over neckline. I think I might end up sewing an elastic into the top here so it kind of like is more snug against my neck. But we'll see kind of how it fits when it's blocked. I'll do that at the very end. And yeah, the sleeves are flying by. This is the second time I'm knitting the sleeve. I got through almost the entirety of it. Tried it on and realized the sleeves were super baggy and I couldn't figure it out, but I realized I used one needle size bigger than what I did on the body, which interestingly is typically what I do purposefully to make up for the gauge difference. Many times when we're knitting in smaller circumferences, we're knitting tighter. So like I said, usually I actually size up one needle size when knitting sleeves, but this time it just didn't really work out. And I think because when you knit this, you're actually kind of at the top of the sleeve here, you're knitting some short rows to kind of allow for more of a like, I guess rounded shoulder. Which is funny because it's a drop shoulder design, so kind of the shoulder seam kind of hits me like here anyways. But anyways, I kind of like the size of how this sleeve is working up with just one needle size down. So I will continue with this. And yeah, the provisional or the sewn cast off on this came out beautifully. I don't know if you can see that here. But yeah, I really love it. I did kind of the tubular bind off that she calls for, 1x1 ribbing, and it's nice and stretchy. It looks nice and finished. I'm very happy with this. I'm really excited to see how it's gonna block out. I have a feeling it's gonna bloom really nicely and get a lot softer. And it doesn't right now seem like it's going to pill that much. I've done a lot of kind of moving this from like, you know, my lap to the couch to whatever, and then knitting the sleeve is obviously twisting the body a lot, and I haven't had any pilling or noticeable pilling so far. So really happy with this. I think because of how fast I'm flying through this project, and how motivated I am to finish it, that's kind of putting my other projects into perspective. It's just really kind of confirming that, you know, I feel like I should be knitting things that I am like 100% on board for, because I'm gonna love it, I'm gonna wear it. So yeah, I think as I'm becoming a more experienced knitter and making projects, I'm getting a little bit more picky on like what I'm making and how to use my time and my money, obviously, because yarn is expensive. Because I really want to add things to my wardrobe that I will wear consistently and kind of fill a gap, versus kind of are things that I'm making because like I like the yarn or it's like a trendy pattern. So yeah, I kind of going back to the basics here, knitting things that are staples and match with kind of what I wear on a routine basis. So hopefully by next time I will have finished this. Okay, so I am still a little bit undecided on how I'm going to go about sharing the yarn that I purchased on our trip. It's quite a bit, so I think I might just make another episode kind of highlighting that. But other things kind of going on in the knitting world here for me. I'm actually going through my stash again and finally putting away some yarn that I will plan to list kind of as like a destash sale. And I'm also considering selling off some of my older knitwear that I'm just not really getting a lot of wear out of. So if you are interested in that, I do plan on really discounting a lot of what I'm trying to sell. I'm really just trying to kind of find better homes for what I have. I've accumulated quite a bit over the years. So if that's something that interests you, then be sure to follow me over at Instagram at Svenja Knits, so you can stay tuned there. I think what I'll do is probably list it on Etsy because I still do have an active account there, and kind of for selling and shipping purposes, a good platform to use. So that's on the radar for me. And then in terms of fall knitting, I have so many plans. None that will all come to fruition, but I think what I would like to do is kind of just focus on finishing some whips, really just kind of clearing my maker space. I have a really fun weekend trip coming up with some knitting friends from around the country that I'm really much looking forward to, so kind of that is on the horizon. So yeah, I don't have too much else to report here. I really appreciate you sticking around and waiting for another podcast episode. Let me know your thoughts about all my kind of crazy whip energy, and if you have any other thoughts or questions. I'd like also to hear what you're knitting. I get a lot of inspiration from people that are watching. So thank you all for being here, and I hope you're having a good day. And as always, happy knitting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.